The deity Tara is certainly one of the most beloved female deities in Tibetan Buddhism. Her swiftness to help those who do rely upon her and do her practices are well attested, as is her rather wicked sense of humour. She is a personification of compassion and wisdom in female form, at a time when sorrow and suffering seem to be all around of us. And of all the deities, of all the Buddhas, Tara is the most accessible. And in many ways, Tara appears to be beginning to transcend even Buddhism itself. In Tibetan, she's called Drulma, but is often just called the Saviouress, not just for spiritual salvation, but also as the way to rescue beings from suffering, to comfort them, just as a child might call out to a mother. Calling out to Tara will cause her to come to you in times of need. But is this deity a problem solver? A panacea for all ills? Is she merely an invention of Buddhism? Or has she been appropriated? Her past largely gotten rid of. The bhikshuni, the fully ordained nun, Tubdan Chudran, once said, if you put full trust in Tara, you receive the guidance you need, and hence all your problems will be solved. And this lies at the root of her abilities, not to magically give you things like some cargo cult deity, but to guide you, to show you the best way forward, but also to comfort you in your hour of need. There are huge studies done in the history of Tara as a Buddhist deity, and yet her origins are far more ancient. Tara as a deity was known in pre-Buddhist India, and her place as a deity was very much tied to the rise of Tantra, the radical spiritual system that came from India and was embraced in Central Asia as well as in Tibet. Unless, of course, you follow the Burn tradition, in which case an alternate tantric tradition came from Central Asia. None of these things contradict each other. In truth, Tara represents our own minds in Buddhism, but in the Burn tradition represents the loving mother. And we have to ask ourselves, is there a place in our spirituality for the role of a loving mother? And for many of us, the answer is yes. The sacred feminine is one that embraces different modalities to that of those who embrace the sacred masculine. The sacred feminine opens us to nurture and caring and healing, but also to recognizing that the Divine Mother is as much a creatrix as she is a healer and nurturer of all that lives. But when we look within Tantra, we have to recognize that the sacred feminine is not just something outside of ourselves, but exists within ourselves. We are Tara. And that by embracing the sacred feminine within, we embrace not just the need to change, not just the feminine half of our identities, but we open doors to spirituality long denied and not given voice in a patriarchal, masculine setting. Certainly, Tara is not some green goddess sweeping down. Instead, she is a deity who listens and manifests in many different forms. In the powerful and beautiful practice of the praise of the 21 Taras, an individual praise to each of the manifestations allows us to recognize Tara, indeed feminine energy, as being a complete thing and not just some pastiche upon which some idealized mother ideal is placed, but that as a deity she is a complete being containing wrathful aspects as well as compassionate aspects, gentle and nurturing as she is bringing forth energies creating change, not always the smoothest of processes. And indeed, the role of Tara is one which can become a constant in our lives, but it is one that must be nurtured. We must do more than just set up the image, burn a bit of incense, and connect with the deity. Whether we connect with her as the Tibetan Buddhist tantric deity, the Central Asian burn-loving mother, or if you have access to such teachings, the pre-Buddhist Hindu tradition and the practices of Tara that still exist in some places. Tara opens doors to divination. Tara opens doors to healing. But she also opens doors to wisdom. And in that, we need to recognize that our world is in desperate need of such healing. And practices such as green Tara and the praises to the 21 aspects of Tara are practices that in truth have become essentially needed in these times, and that Tara's call is touching people's hearts, and that as we each respond to them and Tara speaks to us individually, that new expressions of this spirituality will be given birth. But in so doing, for that to happen, we must also engage with the essential practices of visualization, mantra recitation, and praise. For deities do not just accompany us like some dog nipping at our heels, pushing us this way and that, much as the Fool card in the tarot. But she is also judgment, and the high priestess, the empress, and ultimately the loving mother that exists within each all of us. But we can connect without major empowerments, without great teachings, by simply reciting her mantra and allowing her image to fill our minds and our hearts. Her mantra is simple. Om Tare Tuttare Ture Svaha. And one of the benefits of reciting this mantra are that we develop joy. And this is the secret behind her name. One of the meanings of the name Tara is joy. And it is through the practice of joy that we connect with this deity. Now, I am not saying that she is a panacea for all, but I have found in both my highs and my lows her to be a great comfort. And I heartily recommend that you at the very least familiarize yourself as this aspect of the divine feminine doesn't just speak to our core, but speaks to the types in which we live. And in that, I pray sincerely that you find inspiration in her practice. Om Tare Tuttare Ture Svaha. 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 Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.